So yeah, with mock drafts, kind of the number one wild card is where JJ McCarthy goes. That is the biggest question. You know, you hear rumors of the Giants, the Jets, the Vikings, the Broncos. Where JJ McCarthy goes in the 2024 NFL draft is the biggest wild card. I think Mel Kiper hit the nail on the head. He's the hardest player to rank because everyone thinks, you know, I think the consensus quarterback rankings are, even though Drake May's not up there for me, the consensus quarterbacks kind of are Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. Probably somewhere in, you know, Caleb Williams 1, Drake May 2, or probably Williams 1, Daniels 2, Drake May 3. Somewhere, you know, maybe you flip flop May and Daniels, but Williams, Drake May, Daniels seem to be consensus top three quarterbacks. I was wrong. I was had JJ McCarthy the consensus 5. It seems like it appears he's the consensus 4, but where he goes to be, yeah, it's gonna be that's gonna be the fun in draft night. You know, do the Vikings get him at 4? Is that where the trade happens? Do the Patriots take him? Or does he go second overall to Washington? Or the biggest surprise that would shock a lot of people, do the Bears take him at number 1 overall? I think that's a little far fetched at this point. I think it seems at this point it's a lock that the Bears take Caleb Williams, but as much of a wild card as JJ McCarthy is, and just kind of the career he had at Michigan, would it surprise you if he does go first overall? You know, obviously a little bit, but you know, would it be? I guess I'd say it would be surprising, but it would be something that would happen where people would be like, I think there'd be people would be like, okay, you know, I can see why they did that. To me, I'm a big Caleb Williams believer, so I would take Caleb Williams. But yeah, I think it'd be a surprise certainly if McCarthy went 1 overall, but I don't think it would be. I think a lot of people would be like, you know, quietly, okay, I can see it. I can certainly see why the Bears think that way. But yeah, Drake May, it seems like he is a sure bet to at least go second or third. Jaden Daniels, a lot of mock drafts have him going second. Here in Jeremiah's mock draft, he has him going third. Marvin Harrison, number 5 to the New York Jets. It's kind of like what I said about the Chargers, because the Chargers in one mock draft and Zerline's mock draft have taken. It's kind of one of those picks where it's kind of like, okay, why not? You know, you look at the New York Jets. It's already a pretty solid roster. I mean, is receiver necessarily high on their needs list? But you add him with Garrett Wilson, and now you have a receiving core that really has there's no question mark. There's no necessarily weakness. You got Garrett Wilson, that, you know, tenacious guy that can play in the slot and the outside, just kind of the alpha, and then you got a guy like Marvin Harrison who just is going to be a stud for a long time and can really excel on the outside. So, and both guys have played at Ohio State, not obviously at the same time, but both Ohio State Buckeyes who coming out were highly touted guys. So yeah, that would be a nice combination for the New York Jets. The Giants, Malik Neighbors. Kind of what I've touched on. Malik Neighbors seems like I'm still in the Jeremiah mock draft. Neighbors seems like the consensus. Like, it seems like when this is they call this is kind of funny when they talk about runs in the NFL draft. This is kind of the perfect. This is kind of the perfect case of like a mini run on receivers, because you feel like when Marvin Harrison goes off the board, some team's going to be urgent to take Malik Neighbors, whether they do trade up for him or not. You feel like Malik Neighbors is going to go off the board. So what this tells me with Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors in mock drafts going off, it shows me that a lot of NFL personnel probably view those two as the consensus 1 and 2, and they view those two maybe not head and shoulders above everyone else, but those two, most NFL evaluators have those two guys separated from even Odunze or Keon Coleman or Worthy, some of the guys that are seen as the 3rd, 4th, and 5th receivers. So to me, yeah, Marvin Harris, not only in my opinion, but I think that's what NFL evaluators are saying based on all these mock drafts, that Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors have separated themselves from the rest of the receivers. Joe Alt, Dallas Turner. I like Dallas Turner to Atlanta. That is you talk about, I guess I'll retract my statement. I said I didn't really see a lot of picks that were necessarily terrific fits. I think Dallas Turner to Atlanta. You talk about a team that's really struggled to rush the passer, a team that's really built themselves up and done a lot. They focused on so many other areas. I mean, last year drafting Bijan, a couple years ago taking Kyle Pitts, taking Drake London. They focused on so many other areas. Even Desmond Ritter, 2nd round pick. They focused on the skill position so much. And even the defensive back position. Atlanta getting themselves an edge rusher, a team that's just starving to get someone that can rush the passer. And not only is this a guy that can win with power, he can win with speed too. So, and that's the thing. You think of Atlanta, Grady Jarrett getting older. You kind of could Dallas Turner kind of be that guy that gives you the flashbacks of Vic Beasley. So yeah, Atlanta. Not necessarily a fan of Atlanta, but a team that I've listened to their sports talk radio. I kind of have a spot in my heart for the Atlanta Falcons. So love this pick right here. I know I saw a comment on Dallas Turner's highlights of people talking about the Atlanta Falcons taking him. So I really like this pick, Dallas Turner, the Atlanta Falcons. That's one where, because I'll retract from that statement. I didn't see a lot of picks that I really thought were a good fit, but I think Dallas Turner here, I know I've reiterated a few times, Dallas Turner here, number 8 to Atlanta makes a lot of sense. Number 9, yeah, I'm liking this mock draft by Jeremiah. 9, Rome Odunze to the Bears. That, to me, that's a pick of. This is a pick where it's saying we got Caleb Williams. Let's give him that's no doubt that he's got weapons. Now you got DJ Moore, Rome Odunze. That is a really good combination right there. Kind of similar to, with the Jets taking Marvin Harrison. Now you have no excuses at the wide receiver position. Now you got a playmaker. Look at Odunze. I mean, this is a guy who I talk about. This guy that he looked like an NFL receiver playing college football. Like the guy some guys just understand the game. Like I think he kind of reminds me of Jackson Smith-Njigba coming out. I know Smith-Njigba didn't have like an elite rookie year, but he showed a lot of flashes of why he's been great through high school, college, and pro. Odunze, you get vibes of that. Like, this is a guy that just, maybe if he doesn't dominate as a rookie, this is a guy that's just going to figure out how to become a really good receiver eventually. Just a guy that just understands how to get off the line of scrimmage, how to not have wasted movement, how to get open, how to make contestants and catch in traffic, how to, effective run after the catch. He's not maybe an elite guy after the catch, but he's very good after the catch nonetheless. So yeah, Rome Odunze to the Bears. No excuses for Caleb Williams. This is just really, the Bears are saying, this is a pick I actually don't, for whatever reason, I don't see happening, but it's a pick that you're just like, knowing that they've taken Caleb Williams and then they draft Odunze here, the reaction to that pick is like, okay, there's no excuses for Caleb Williams not to make an immediate impact in year one. I think that's what I should have said initially. The Rome Odunze pick is saying that that Caleb Williams is going to come in right away, and we're going to give him an opportunity with great weapons, DJ Moore and Odunze. We're going to give him no excuses to fail. Talisa Fuaga, this offensive tackle for Oregon State. I'll be honest, I haven't watched any tape on him, but it seems like he's one of the top risers. I know it's bad to say. I just have not got a chance to watch his tape. Jared Verse, like I touched on Jared Verse before. Jared Verse, I guess to sum up, Jared Verse didn't have as good of a season this year, but yeah, had a guy that still has some upside. Kind of like Dallas Turner. I think he's a guy that could be a really good edge rusher in the NFL for a long time. To the Cardinals, another team that just needs help getting a team that just needs guys that can rush the passers. So never have enough edge rushers. Arizona, a team that not only do they need edge rushers, they just need help defensively. So they get a guy like Jared Verse, very safe pick. I think Verse, even if he never develops into a really good player in the NFL, I think he'll be a solid starter, and I think he has a chance to get a second contract in the National Football League. Brock Bowers, number 12 here to Denver. I mean, this is, I think that would be obviously certainly not a bad pick. I think it'd be a really good pick. I think it's, Brock Bowers, elite skill set. I think, Denver, one of those teams where not as much in the last couple of years, but a team that seems like they've been trying too hard to get the skill position, to draft skill position players. I know tight end, kind of an argument, it's a skill position, but also, there's, in the NFL, you get one like Brock Bowers who can block. It's almost like an extra offensive lineman. So to me, the Denver Broncos, always a team, it seems like a team that has kind of been stretching, it's just thirsting a little bit too much, if you will, for skill position guys. So I like the pick here, but to me, if you're Denver, you kind of go the Atlanta route, like with the pick, like with Dallas Turner, like they get a guy like Braylon Trice, just an edge rusher, just more defensive help, where you can just try to I guess not try to duplicate the 2015 team, but just try to establish a strong defensive presence and physicality of the defensive line once again. Some other notable picks. Troy Fontenot moving up in the draft. Fontenot's a guy I really like from Washington. I think, to me, this guy, the versatility of this guy is huge. This guy can play tackle, can play guard. You look at the NFL, injuries happen so often in the NFL. A guy that can play tackle guard is so critical. I mean, look at, I'm staying with my team, the Detroit Lions. It seems like every team has injuries, the offensive line, some more so than others. Some are really decimated team. Fontenot, the guy that can play tackle and guard, not just can play them, but he can play it at a high level. This guy that's good run blocker, guy that's played at a high level, not only this past year for Washington, but throughout his career at Washington. And Seattle getting him, I think that'd be a nice fit. Mike Macdonald, a physical, tough, minded coach. I know he's a defensive minded guy, but Seattle always. I think Seattle with the Mike Macdonald hire, they were saying this under Pete Carroll. I think they will be a team that wants to run the football. That's easier said than done. Pete Carroll was saying that for years, and they never really got back to that. But I think Mike Macdonald, the way he coaches with his defense to play physical, getting a guy like Fontenot, a physical offensive lineman, I think makes a lot of sense for Seattle. Bengals getting J.C. Latham, I like it. I think Latham's he's one of those guys, he's not seen as the consensus offensive tackle, but to me, Latham's a really good player, and I think, the Bengals needed offensive line help, and they get it here. Laiatu Latu, I'll say this. He's probably the most slept-on guy in this NFL draft, and I'll say this. If there's one guy that becomes a superstar that's not getting a lot of buzz right now, it's Laiatu Latu. You watch this guy's tape, and I'll say that this guy, his tape, when you watch his tape in college, you go, wow, he's really good. But there's part of you that goes, this guy never will be a superstar. But I'm telling you right now, this guy, even though he may not ever become like a double digit, or he might not be ever become like a 15, 16 sack guy a year, this guy is just going to be a problem for opposing offensive linemen to block. I can see him having a career where he doesn't have gaudy numbers, but he's always just going to be a problem. He's going to be disruptive. He's going to be a key part to his team having success. So Laiatu Latu from UCLA, I'm telling you right now, even if he's not a superstar, even if he's not a top 3 edge rush, top 3 edge rusher in the next 4 or 5 years in the NFL, this guy he's going to be one of those guys where they got the Rams taking him right here. If you're a Rams fan, you appreciate this guy. You understand. He'll be one of those guys where the hometown, like the team, like, you want to know about a player, ask their fan base. Like, he will be a guy, like, if the Rams draft him, Rams fans will be like, oh yeah, that guy's a beast. Best player. He'll get the tag best player you've never heard of. I know he hasn't played it down in the NFL, but that's what I feel with Laiatu Latu. Nate Wiggins to the Philadelphia Eagles. You talk about, once again, I kind of got to retract from my statement. That feels like a picture-perfect fit. Nate Wiggins, you think Howie Roseman, he has a thing for drafting former big-time high school recruits. So Nate Wiggins, former big-time high school recruits, check. He loves athletes in the defensive back position. Check. Nate Wiggins coming out of high school was regarded as an athlete, not a corner. Guy that can play man-to-man, check. Eagles need more guys that can play man coverage. Obviously, everyone does, and then also he's a guy. And then the Eagles just need secondary help, and they just need to. The Eagles seems like one of those teams where, kind of like the Falcons need edge. The Eagles have just needed help in the secondary for a long time, and it feels like they're a team that's just like Atlanta thirsting for an edge rusher. The Eagles just thirsting for a guy that can play corner, or a guy that can be a shutdown corner. Wiggins is one of those guys where I kind of have a weird feeling he won't be dominant right away as a rookie, but I think this is a guy 2-3 years from now, and you'll be like, wow, he's really developing to a really good corner. Just kind of the way he plays is a little bit raw. He's kind of a guy that I think he is kind of using a lot of raw athletic ability, but yeah, I like it. Brian Thomas here, 23 to the Cardinals. Even though I follow LSU football closely, I wasn't super high on Brian Thomas, but as the year went on, I started to be convinced. Brian Thomas is one of those guys where, not the best receiver on his team. That was Malik Neighbors, but Brian Thomas, Like if you talk to LSU fans, they'll tell you all about Brian Thomas and the impact he made this year. I think he kind of, that's the problem with a guy like with Malik Neighbors getting so much buzz. You don't want to give him the tag the other LSU wide receiver. I think that's really taken away from what he did this year. But he kind of that's like if the Cardinals draft him, you think, oh well, we got Brian Thomas at 23. We didn't get Malik Neighbors, but we got the other LSU wide receiver. People will say that. Is it fair? No, but then people will say that and not watch his highlights. But the people that say that and watch his highlights are like, dang, this Brian Thomas, he's pretty good. Brian Thomas, up until this